Okay. All right. So, all right. Hi. Dr. Mears is on. Welcome, 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 welcome. So this call is being recorded. This call is being recorded. And I just asked the question if anyone has an issue with that. The purpose of recording the call is so that we can later on share this call with a friend, a family member, a colleague, someone who you think can benefit from what we have to say tonight. Tonight is just a movement. It's the beginning of a movement. It's the beginning of something great. It is the beginning of greatness. And with that being said, I want to take this opportunity to have everyone just quickly introduce yourself. The purpose of the call, first, I'm going to get into that, what the purpose of this call is all about, what this forum is all about, and then we can get into the introductions. Is that all right with everyone? Can everyone hear me? Okay, cool. Awesome. All right, so I have a few friends here who, I'll just send this by itself. Let me just tell them click here. Okay. So the purpose of this call, why do we need this kind of call, this movement? Why do we need to discuss Black economics? Why do we need to get involved in such a strategic plan? The purpose of this call is to enlighten, to strategize, to mobilize, and to put into effect our ideas, to work together, to network, to build our net worth, to support one another, to provide answers, solutions, to provide just different perspectives. So this call will not be the only call. This call is an initiation to something bigger than us. It's beyond us. And I thank everyone for taking the time to really join this call tonight. You could have been doing anything else, but you see that there is a need for change and a need for real change. And we know that change isn't implemented, it doesn't come overnight, it takes time, real change. And real change must come through unity, it must come through like-mindedness, it must come through strength, through consistency. So with that being said, I believe that everyone on this call has what it takes to be consistent, to be great leaders, to be great influencers, and to really do something. And all of us have a role to play in this great change. Why Black-onomics? As we know, with the temperature of this country, with what is going on, with all of this uproar, for those who are most well aware of their history, they're aware of where things began and where things are broken. They understand that it is through economics that this country is sustained. And through that, I had the opportunity to speak with my sister last Friday on a very, very informative interview last Friday on the radio station, My Turn Radio. And we got into some really great stuff. And we provided some really great information. And a lot of people were inspired. And I said to myself, that's not where it ends. This is only the beginning. So this initiation, I just want to facilitate it. I don't have the answers. I don't have all the answers. I have suggestions, ideas, but I need your support. I need your ideas. I need your thoughts. And together we can execute an action plan. I just have a great feeling about all the callers that are joining at this moment. I believe that you guys are people who are ready to really execute. So without further ado, we are going to jump into introductions. Please, by any means, introduce yourself how you feel fit. You can introduce with a title, you can introduce with what you're passionate about, you can introduce with whatever it is that you feel most comfortable. You can go ahead now and unmute your phone and introduce yourself so that we can know who's on the call, and then you'll see why I really asked you to share with us who you are.
Hey everybody, my name is Chanel Hudson. I'm Shanae's younger sister. I am passionate about social justice and social reform.
Awesome, thank you. Thank you, sis. Thank you, sis. Anyone else? Next. Keep it rolling.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Dr. Mika Mears. I am really excited to have the opportunity to join this call. I am definitely passionate about, I share Chanel's passion as well, and I'm passionate about a true sense of equality, equity, equilibrium. And when I say equality, I'm talking about across the spectrum of the various elements of equality and where it's definitely deficient or the deficiencies are. Once again, I'm excited to be on the call, so thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you, Dr. Mears. Thank you. Next, anyone else to introduce themselves?
My name is Sierra Adrian, and I share the same passion and am really looking forward to participating any way that I can to move forward with change that's long overdue.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you.
I guess I can jump in there.
Okay.
Am I on?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, cool. My name is Lamoy Decina, founder of the Cool Spot. The place where creative millennials meet. It was really mainly for Blacks, minorities, and this is more of an information-based platform. I'm always looking to collab and network and build on information, so we can share and disseminate together as a collective. So I'm just happy to be here, and I'm here. So let's definitely go in on some stuff. So I'm looking forward to tonight. So that's all.
Thank you. Keep it going, folks.
Hey, good night, everyone. My name is Anastasia Young. I share similar passion to all the others that have introduced themselves. I'm so excited to be on this call tonight and to see how best I could work with each and everyone here on this call to make everything better. Nice meeting everyone.
Awesome. Thank you, Anne.
Hey, good evening, everybody. My name is Dejan Talks. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of this community dialogue that we're about to embark on. I'm heavily involved in prison reform. I'm in the prison system teaching entrepreneurship to men and women coming out of prison. I'm heavily involved with the homeless population as far as giving them second opportunities to be reemerged back into society. And I'm big on Black economics and reinforcing our community on business ventures and different ways to restructure our financial fortitude to leave legacies that will not leave our children and our children's children still begging for a dollar. So, and I'm definitely looking forward to rewriting the Constitution so we can actually have all men are created equal, include us in it.
Thank you, Dejan. Anyone else?
Good evening, everyone. Kristen Goss, just wanted to say thank you, Shanae, for the invite. And I am an attorney in the legal field and just here to provide whatever support I can. And one of the main reasons why I entered into the law is to make sure that justice is served for all individuals. So anything that I can do to support the cause and help you, I am definitely here for you and for all of us.
Thank you, Kristen. Thank you.
Good afternoon. This is Paul Chambers. I just want to say thanks for this opportunity to join as brother.
Thank you. Thank you.
I use internet.
Anyone else? Anyone else?
What's up?
I hear you. Go ahead. Say your name, man.
Oh, hey, how are y'all doing? I didn't know. My name is Antonio Sanders. People know me as Duke. Hello, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else want to introduce themselves?
Hi, I'm Sokovia Calvin. I am a realtor. We never received our reparations. And so it became my goal to help us increase our credit worthiness and own a piece of America. I am so thankful for this opportunity to embark on this mission, this movement with you, Shanae. So I appreciate this opportunity, and I'm looking forward to everything that we discussed this evening.
Awesome. Awesome. I'm excited. I'm excited. Anyone else? Anyone else want to introduce themselves, or we'll just get the ball rolling? I'll allow 1 minute. Okay. Well, the show must go on. And I thank everyone for joining. I thank everyone for expressing themselves and sharing what your deepest desires are and what is it that you are passionate about. Without further ado, I wanted to get into the essence of some of the things that we really want to discuss. And I want to start by posing a question. As we all know, I am a very solution-oriented person. I love to discover solutions to issues, to problems. While we acknowledge them, it's very important to first acknowledge, of course. Then the next course of action is what next? You know, what do we do? What is our first step? So my first question that I'm going to pose to everyone is, what does change look like for you? Or how can we implement real change? Anyone can grab a hold of that. What does that look like to you? Or how can we implement change, start to implement change? That's my first question.
First thing we got to do is to support each other. It's the first thing. We got to start to support each other business in the Black community. It's very important that we stick together and come up with ideas to help each other by hiring each other, spending with each other, find out what is Shanae doing, support her business, find out what is Paul doing, support his business, or whoever, whatever they're doing, until we start to spend the Black dollar in the Black community. We're not going to be doing anything. So we need action. We need to start to just get the understanding of what each other is doing, what our Black community is really doing, and support the Black community. The Jewish people keep their money in their community for months and weeks. It's spent 100 times in the community before it come out of the community. So we need in every way to support each other. And the only way we're going to get to do that is if we support each other. And then we could make a change.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that, Paul. Anyone else want to share? What does change look like? How do we start implementing change? You can take it from whatever perspective you desire to take it.
Hi guys, Chanel again. Paul, that was a good point. Gosh, that's such a big question. It's so meaty and it's so many facets to it, but just a very microscopic angle or point is that I think that as a people, you know, Black people, we're not monolithic. You know, we're not all the same. You have Black folks from different Caribbean islands. You have literal Black folks that came from the motherland, Africa, and then you have African Americans. So we're a very diverse people. But I think it's very important that in order for us to care about our own and to care about ourselves and value our birthright, value our place in America, we first have to go back and be committed to discovering who we were back then. I think because we are only fed the history as far back as slavery, it's very hard for us to truly embody the kings and queens within and truly embody, you know, how we're supposed to operate as a community. When we look at Black Wall Street and Tulsa, Oklahoma, where we had that very successful Black business owners, you know, it seems like so foreign to us and so far away. It's like, man, how can we get back to that? But I think that those people had a better understanding of who they were, their ability, their strengths. They had a better understanding of unity. And I think, you know, we really have to sit down and be committed to researching, learning, and going from there, because I don't think that we really have a point to start right now. Like it just seems lost. Like our history just seems lost, our purpose, our value, all of that just seems so lost. And again, you know, as I said before, our history doesn't begin with slavery. So we have to go further back and then work our way to 2020 and beyond. That's my thought.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that, Chanel.
If I may chime in a little bit, to piggyback on what your sister just said, as far as the segregation within our own community, we have too many different segregating classes. Like, I'm Haitian, you're Jamaican, you're American, you're Bahamian, and we put these titles that are really not, that don't really belong to us as a people, because we're just one people from one land, one area. It's just so happened that the boat just dropped us off us different places, right? So we're really one people, and I feel like we have to learn to drop these titles, drop these professions, drop these superficial things, whether it's religion or ethnicity, and just understand that we have to put those things aside to come to a common understanding and a common reasoning as just a people with one voice. I believe then we can be more unified and strengthened. In addition to that, what I would say for me to answer your question is simply equality for me would be the same way you're going to treat this person in this situation, in this courtroom, is the same way that I want to be treated as well. No less, no different. I don't want to be superior or inferior to anybody else. I just want to have the same opportunity and same equal playing field. And we're trying to level up, as we say in today's generation, to that playing field. But I also believe that we're not represented enough in a lot of these areas that makes these changes, the policies, the judge seats, the state prosecutions, the police officers, the positions that allow us to make these physical representations of ourselves where we're represented. I believe that's extremely important for us to try to implement ourselves into these situations and refocus of why we have the civil rights movement and why is it important for us to revisit the Constitution and to incorporate us in it. I believe it, you know, just from my standpoint, if we can just get to that conversation and that level of understanding with each other and no more separation, because amongst the Caucasians, the only two separations that they acknowledge is just Republican and Democrat. Everything else they make work. They don't care if they're German, if they're Russian, or they don't care about that. They just make it work. If there's anything we can learn from that is we ourselves can make it work. And if we ever learn how to unify each other, we're going to become a very dangerous force to be reckoned with for the right reasons.
I agree with that. I agree with that. Anyone else?
Shanae, can you restate the question in case it
Okay, for those
from
that
memory?
are just joining, what I'm asking is, where do we begin? How do we start to implement change? Of course, that is a broad question, but I just want to see where everyone's mind is at. I want to see what your thoughts are. Whatever comes to mind, blurt that out, share that with us. What does change look like for you? Or how do we start to implement change? That's just as broad as I want to have it. Put that on the table, and you guys, I want you guys to really let me know what that looks like, because then we're going to take it to the next level from there. So go ahead and
Oh,
share your thoughts on that.
okay, Shanae, I'm gonna chime in. This is Duke, everyone. One of the simplest solutions is, I hate to say it, is banking Black, right? We need to focus our energy on developing our own Bank of America or Chase. The reason why I say Bank of America first is because they have more Black depositors than Chase does. What does this allow? One thing that I'm certain of as it pertains to One United specifically is that they're focused on economic development within Black communities, right? So the larger we can make that bank by simple savings accounts, so we're looking at, we will be able to take them over $400 million, well, give them $400 million if 4 million of us deposited, what was it, $100, I believe it was, or if we got 400,000 to do $1,000 out of their savings from one bank account into this next one. What I've found, even in sharing this with other people personally and through social media, I hear, quite frankly, very ignorant statements like, no, oh, I'm good, or never mind, as if it's not an FDIC insured bank. You understand what I mean? Your money is always safe. If
Duke,
we do
your
this,
volume went down.
I don't know what just happened. What about now? Is that better?
Still low. Can everyone hear him, or is it just me?
Yes, I can hear him.
Okay.
Okay.
Are you on the Android, Shanae?
No, I know what it was. I got a call from Skype from the radio station. Lord Jesus.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Okay, so where I'm going with that is, the more money that these banks have the more assets they have, the more they can lend to our individual causes. The largest Black bank in America only has $662 million. That's terrible. I mean, that's absolutely terrible compared to the regular banking industry. However, if we can get these depositors in and take them over the $1 billion mark, that gave them $400 million more that they could invest into community projects in middle and low income communities. That's step number one. Number two is, in doing so, we can then buy our own politicians. We can talk philosophical, we can talk all of morality and et cetera, but ever since JP Morgan and Carnegie bought the first election, if we don't participate in the same way, that's what lobbying is, then we're going to continue to be marching for change and nothing happens. We have to put our money where our mouths is, even if that's $10 to your candidate or $25, whatever it is. We have to make sure that we are actually supporting the people that supports us. That's one of the other ways. Another thing is going out of our way, as others have stated, to support Black businesses. At the same time, holding these Black businesses accountable for customer service, quality of products, goods, and services, and et cetera, but doing so as we would a actual family member. I'm not going to put you on blast until you ignore my multiple attempts to help you get things right, because we're already starting behind the board. So what we have to do is not be so quick to make our public opinions about things as we would any other business, because we're already operating from behind the 8 ball. However, after we have made, I'm just throwing out a number, we've made 3 attempts to help this company do what they're supposed to do, and they do not, you blast them like everyone else, because we're in a capitalist society, and unless you are competing properly, then you can't, then, you're not worth our dollars, one of those other things. The other thing is continuing to flood our timelines, our livelihoods, everything with Black excellence. The imagery that we see, and it was very shameful for me, myself. You can't get more pro-Black than me in certain regards. And my daughter, when she was, I think she was 3, I don't know what it was, her aunt did the Black baby doll, white baby doll experiment, and my child still said the Black baby doll was uglier, which it was, because they made our dolls ugly, but and that the white baby doll was better. You understand what I mean? And that's because, and then I went and I looked around in my home. I didn't have white images up in my home, but nor did I have positive Black imagery around either. So these are some of the ways, but make no mistake about it, and I'll digress after I make this statement. How many Asian politicians do you see? Not many.
Right.
You understand what I mean? However, the Asians are out earning us almost double. Why is that? They're focusing their energy on economic development, not on all of this other stuff. I'm not discounting the power of the march. What I'm saying is, if we are marching without focusing our dollars after that, then we're marching in vain. And that's pretty much my position.
I agree. Anyone else? Anyone else? If you just joined, which I just allowed a few people into the call, we're discussing what does change look like, or how can we begin to implement change. So we've heard education, we need to educate ourselves. We've heard we need to circulate the Black dollar and invest in the Black community and Black businesses. We've learned so many different perspectives on what needs to be done. And at the bottom line, why I called it Black-onomics, which I got that from Duke, right, is that at the end of the day, as Dejan rightfully said, everyone speaks green. The United States speaks green. The world speaks green, which is pretty much what it is. As Duke just said, you know, if you put away the morale and all of this pretty stuff, the fluff, bottom line is we need to start owning things. We need to start purchasing things. We need to start investing in things, because at the end of the day, that's what matters. Anyone else want to put an input? Because I'm going to take it a little step further.
Yo, you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, let me chime in on what the good brother just added.
Yes.
One thing I've noticed about Asians or any other group outside of the African Americans in this country is that when they look for an employment opportunity or education opportunity, they go for the best. You look at the Jewish community compared to the African American community. When we go to college, we just try to find anything we can get a degree in. You know, Asians and Jews, they go straight for the lawyer, straight for the legal profession, straight for the medical profession, straight for the engineering profession, straight for the chemistry profession, biotech professions. They don't, and that's what they stick with, the money-making professions. They are not going to get an accounting degree. They're not going to get a social science degree. They're not going to get a, I don't know, basket weaving, whatever. I'm just using that as an example. They're going to get the degrees that's going to give them 6 to 7 figures. If they can't get that, their life is pretty much is over. That's their mentality. You know, they pretty much dishonored their whole family if they don't obtain that profession. And that's the difference. You know, you have to have a mindset at an early age to not to accept mediocrity.
Right.
They have been, you know, conditioned at a young age from their parents. When they come to this country, they're not going to waste their time. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
They're not going to waste their time at all. Either you're going to get this degree in medicine and become a physician. Either you're going to get this degree in biochemistry and start your own biotech company. If you look at all these biopharmaceutical companies, they all ran by Indians. Do your research. They all ran by Indians. They are the CEOs or the CFOs and the major shareholders in these companies. That company, Moderna, I think it's Moderna, right? Look who, go research and see who the CEO is of that company. Research. Indian. You know what I'm saying? When they come here, they don't waste their time. You know what I'm saying? They go straight for where the money is at, you know, and that's the difference. That's what a lot of us in our community have to understand. Many of us, unfortunately, because of our backgrounds, you know, fail to get properly educated. Either you drop out of school or you choose a field based upon your social condition. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
We have to stray away from that. We have to go where the money is at. So when you go to where the money is at, then you'll be able to obtain resources to be able to buy real estate, to be able to start a business that will eventually turn into a major corporation. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
So that's the focus that we need to, you know, that should be our main focus, as a people, to get our priorities at that next tier, at a higher level.
And to what the gentleman is saying right now, you make extremely valid points. I've been arguing back and forth, even today on Facebook, about the importance of the STEM fields. And one thing is, we must instill in our children, and it seems hard, but we must instill in our children their sacrifice towards our end goal. The Asians do it. The Indians, not Native Americans, they do it. All other foreigners, and I believe that you guys is coming from different Caribbean islands. When you come to America, you guys have this mindset as well. Whereas in general, the African American in America and from America, if you will, don't really teach our children the sacrifice they must also make in order to see to the equality or the equal playing field. And is this utopic idea, and that, oh, we can be creative, we can do what we're passionate about, we can X, Y, and Z. No, we cannot. We are at a minimum 100 to 200 years from that. Now, if we do break, we can be at 100 years from that. But until things are equal economically, we cannot afford to be going to school for art. Chanel knows I'm not paying $1, 1 cent, and I'm good, for none of my children to go to college for any foolish degree. It's a foolish degree. I'd rather pay for them to backpack through Europe or Asia or Africa somewhere and get real life experience than wasting my money and their time on a degree that's going to have them serving chicken at Popeyes. You understand what I mean? That makes absolutely no sense. So the guy did make a very, very valid point as it pertains to that. And we mustn't waver on that amongst our circle. And if somebody come at you, because it can be hard, you'd be like, well, everybody isn't smart. Well, get smart or open a business. Bottom line, if you can't qualify, if you can't do STEM, and I realize that STEM isn't for everyone. Some people are better with their hands. So if you cannot excel in the STEM fields, then find a way to open your own business. And I'll digress. Oh, STEM is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics.
Yeah. Can I piggyback off?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Jump in.
All right. Oh, sorry, man. I mean to cut you.
No, you're good. You're good. Go ahead.
I look at the definition of community. Community is a group of people living in the same place or having a particular characteristic in common. And then the second one says a feeling of fellowship with others as a result of sharing common attitudes, interests, and goals. And the reason why I brought up community is that's what we lack. It's not racism, it's community. I was sharing with a friend earlier today, stating that, a lot of us don't, we have fathers, some of us don't, but what inheritance we have leaving our kids? What do we have knowledgeable to pass on to our kids? Because these are the next generation. Now we at an age where we're accountable, we understand, we starting to digress of, things that we learn. And I always said, learned behavior is what is in our communities, because it's things that has been passed down. Like a lot of parents hasn't been to college, piggyback off what you, saying we don't have this information. How can we give this information, like how the Jews, take care of their kids, how the Indians take care of their kids? Because it's information, their community. They pass down information to each other to help each other. When their kids grow up, they're successful. And we lack that as a community, as not just Black people, but as a community as a whole together, to pass down information to our kids. Hey, if I'm an entrepreneur, how can I, if I look at Donald Trump left his son, legacy. He's an idiot, but at the end of the day, his son ran his business. So you know what I'm saying? But those inheritage, supposed to be passed down to where our kids, don't have to, suffer and and on welfare, because they see mom go through that, child support, those different things. You see what I'm saying? Because those are learned behavior. You see what I'm saying? So the community has to start coming together and sharing information. Even their Black owners, sometimes they get arrogant. Some of them get, they successful, that they untouchable, that they can't pass information down to the homeless man. You see what I'm saying? So there's people, I'm just saying, as in us as, community has been prideful, us has been arrogant, us has been, just certain things that we haven't done as a community. And we're lacking this. And this good information that people need to hear. I'm a quiet person, but I like the information that has been shared, but there's other people that really needs this information so we can become community. Like you say, Duke said, like, we out there marching for what? They don't have a legitimate reason why they're marching. They don't even understand the sacrifices that leaders left us. You see what I'm saying? And don't live up to what Martin Luther King or Malcolm X and all these people fought for. You see what I'm saying? And because the mindset still don't change. It's all about community.
If I may piggyback on what the brother just said and what Duke has said earlier, when he made a clear separation between what we will call a Black American and a Black foreigner, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm a Black foreigner. I came here on a boat at age 6 from a foreign country called Haiti, understanding what economic tragedy looks like, understanding what war looks like, understanding what social reform and all of these terms that we hear, but we never really live, right? So we read about these things in the history book, and coming to the United States, we come here on an empty stomach with nothing in our hands, literally like Africans all over again, dropped off into a new land with nothing.
Hungry.
Hungry, like starving. You get it. Like, you ain't got nothing, just starving, right? So I'm completely there with you with the change of mindset. But what I have to, like Shanae Hudson always says, is we have to look at the micros, because what you're doing is, it's a macro understanding. And unfortunately, with our community, we know we don't have that, right? You clearly stated we don't have those lenses. And there's a reason why we don't have those lenses. It's because systematically, we can't have those lenses, because look at the system that's been in place for us. Because our history in America, and I'm going to say our because I want us to be one people, because there is no American nation. I want us to be one people. So our history in America is not our history. We said this numerous times over throughout this dialogue. They start us at the lowest mental place, which is slavery. The lowest mental place is where they start us at, slavery. They already put shackles in our brains. Forget the shackles in our hands. They put the shackles in our brains. So we're starting at the bottom of the bottom, trying to rise up, which is a big problem. My history, luckily for me, because I came from Haiti, I'm proud. Like, I'm as proud as they come. I'm the first free Black republic. You can't tell me nothing. I don't care what the white man says. What are you going to tell me? I done whooped you already. You understand? I whooped you already. So what can you tell me? But unfortunately, for my American brothers, they didn't give you guys this luxury yet, because even though you were set free from your shackles, you were not set free from your education. You were not set free from everything else. You were not set free from nothing but the shackles. You still don't have the amendment rights. You still don't have Chapter 13. And the moment when you do something wrong, they put you in something called a prison and make you a slave all over again. I had a conversation on a bench, Duke, since I'm looking at you. I had a conversation on a bench in a prison. I'm sitting in prison, and I'm having a conversation with this 60-year-old Black guy. It's the most prophetic conversation I had. He's talking about his daughter studying stem cell research. Isn't that a coincidence? He's talking about his daughter graduating from you, and he was disappointed. He's like, that was too low for him. Understand what I'm saying? Do you understand what that did to my brain? When I grew up on the block, Duke, the highest level of profession was the gangster, the pimp, or the mechanic. Who you gonna be? This is all I saw. So this was my exposure. Now I'm sitting in a prison on a bench with a Black guy that's 60 plus, and he's telling me his daughter's master's degree in stem cell research is beneath her. Understand what this did to my brain. My brain literally just went boom, like it blew out of my head, right? Because I never even heard of stem cell research. I had never heard of neuroscience. These terms are not common. Terms that are common to our community: doctor, lawyer, engineer, accountant. Doctor, lawyer, engineer, accountant, or entertainer or athlete. These are the 6 funnels that they provide us in our community. But how are we gonna break out of these 6 funnels? We have, because our parents don't know anything more than this. To them, this is the highest level of esteem. So I always say that until we educate the parent, the student won't learn anything. And if we're depending on the education system to educate our kids and we're not doing it at home first, then we already failed as a system. We already failed as a system. So if we're going to talk about implications, I think you guys have a great basis. We have to set our standards higher than what we have set before.
Correct.
I think that's a great point. I think that's a very amazing point. Set the standards higher because the bar is obviously the benchmark is extreme. If I become a doctor today, I'm still broke because I'm indebted to student loans that I'm never going to be able to pay off.
Correct.
I'm still broke. All my lawyer friends are broke. They like the title, but they all broke. Broke people, right? So at the end of the day, let's be real. Let's be real. All my lawyer friends that look, I have a juris doctor, blah blah. Oh, that's cool. How much you bringing home a year after you pay all your taxes and all your school fees? Oh, you're making about $30,000 a year. Congratulations. We got the titles.
What's your name?
We like the suit, but it's something else. But I think that's a great place to start. Is again starting back with the parents that's in charge and allowing their ceiling to be higher than what's predicated to them. Because remember, American system is set up to keep us on child care, Section A, small stimulus checks, Medicaid. They want to keep us satisfied so we're not hungry to get anything more. I never came to America satisfied. I came hungry. And there's nothing that you can offer me that was going to satisfy me. But unfortunately, it's not the same for everybody else in America. Sorry for
now,
taking so
Dejan.
long.
No, you
Yes, sir.
you good, Dejan. You make some very valid points. But one thing, having been in this game for 20 years, I know I look younger than what it is, but being in this game for 20 years, the parents are a lost cause. Period. Don't waste the time. Generally speaking, we're not talking about exceptions. We're talking about the masses.
And the broad.
It's a lost cause. So how do we attract the attention of the youth? Because they're starving, they're young, they're hungry, they want change, they just don't know how to get there, and that is our responsibility. And this is one area that I failed. What I realized, that's why I like what Sinead was doing about inspiring. Our failure to impress keeps us from inspiring. There's a game to all of this.
I like that.
You understand what I mean or whatever, right? And so those of us that are doers, we get so busy doing, being in the shadows, trying to be low key, trying not to flex or stunt. But instead, like if we were bodybuilders, we letting the dudes and the women out there that's taking steroids get all of the credit and the shine. And that's who our young people are seeing. And that's the path that they're choosing instead of us natural bodybuilders, proverbially speaking, flexing equally as hard as the steroid takers. And then they're like, ooh, there's one of my friends here locally in Jacksonville. She's running for Senate District 14. Her name is Angie Nixon or whatever. That being said, she used to look a hot mess, and it's fine. I'll say it to her face. She used to be so focused on being smart, being appreciated because of her brain, and et cetera, that she failed to realize the audience that she was catering to. Our attention spans now are lower than elementary school.
Lower than a goldfish. Less than 8 seconds.
That's crazy. So we can't afford not to meet the people where they are. And I will be one of the first to say that I have failed to stunt and flex because that really isn't my personality. However, that don't have anything to do with with our purpose. I would say it like that there. So one thing I will say once again, the parents, please, sir, and everybody else on this plane, do not waste your time targeting the parents. Now, if you find a parent that is interested along with their child, definitely, because that's a better support system. However, what we must do is make such an impression on the children that it forces them to seek out deeper depths of advancement. Simply put, if they can, the same insatiable itch that they get to become rappers or entertainers or athletes, you understand what I mean? Why do they want to do that? Just like yourself, myself, I've been to jail, that whole nine. When I was a jit, this is what I saw back in the 90s. I saw one or two things. Either I saw somebody riding around, and that time it was the Suburban, in a Suburban or whatever, whatnot, and they were 50 plus years old. Or I saw somebody riding around in the Suburban in their 20s, and obviously we know what they were doing. They were gold teeth up. They was the D-boys. So what does that say to a young boy walking home from school? Either A, I'm gonna have to wait till I'm too old to enjoy it in my mind, because you know, in elementary you think 50 is old, you know, or B, I'm gonna have to get out here and get it on the muscle like these other guys. But then you say, but there were professional and successful, non-old and illegal Black people.
But they were not
too,
visible. They
that's
were not
exactly
visible.
correct.
They
That's
weren't
just the bottom
visible.
line.
They weren't visible. I got you. They weren't visible. Facts.
That's it.
They weren't visible.
Yeah,
Facts.
that's the point. That is the point.
Let me, can I jump in?
Most definitely.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Doc.
Well, good evening, everyone. Like, I'm loving the conversation. So for me, I totally agree with you all. However, when you said the parents are a lost cause, I would say to an extent. Now, the parents are suffering from what these children are suffering from. So the benefit of reaching the parents, even if it's in a microscopic capacity, the benefit is, or one of the main benefits, is the fact that these children are going back home to those very same parents. School only has these parents for a limited time. Any organization, Boys and Girls Club, YMCA, etc., only have them for a limited time. So if we can reach the parents in some capacity, I have had the privilege of speaking with countless parents who were a part of our judicial system, and unfortunately, they were victims of the system. And the reason I say victims is because, as somebody previously mentioned, this system was not created or set up for Black prosperity. It's just the facts. The ideology surrounding law enforcement. Now, for those who are unaware, law enforcement, the two main pillars are justice and restoration. We only get the justice aspect of it. We get no restoration. Right? How many Caucasian politicians or people do you know who have committed major atrocities? I'm talking about, look at the young man who ran over, I think, 5 people because he was drunk. His punishment was to go to a resort like, oh my God, it's facility somewhere out in the country, rehab, that's what it was, a rehabilitation center, so that he's no longer a victim of inebriation for whatever substance it was. The point I'm saying is, parents, a lot of these parents have been victims of the system. I have had a lot of parents who I've had the opportunity to speak to both in the community and in the classrooms and say to them, you know what, why are you here? And oftentimes I hear, I never had the opportunity to go to school. No one ever believed in me. By the time they're finished taking my courses, because my courses are thematic, they're rooted in social justice, right? Discrimination, racism, etc. Now, by the time they're finished taking my courses, they feel a sense of, you know what, I can do this, a sense of tenacity, a sense of, you know what, self-motivation. Nobody ever told me that. Nobody ever made me feel like this. So sometimes it takes for us to believe. Now, it's never too late. My philosophy is, once there's life, there's hope. People have the habit of saying, I'm back in school, I've been gone for a while, and it's almost as if they're remorseful regarding their break in, their educational aspirations. And my response to them is like, listen, everybody's life is different. You cannot use prescribed social expectations to live your life. You have to understand that your choices have to be customized to your life and your likings, etc. Now, I say that because we have a problem. Like they said, Houston, we have a problem. We have a problem. My Black men, I love my Black men. I have a son going to college, okay? I have a son that will be in college next year. I love my Black men, okay? And at the end of the day, I want to make sure, I want to ensure that when he goes to whatever school he decides to go to, and you said something so profound, dude, when you say, we majoring in all these crazy majors. How many people major in criminal justice? Okay, are you a cop? Wait, how does that work? Are you planning on becoming a part of the Federal Bureau investigative team? I mean, how does it work? Are you planning on joining the CIA? But we have to understand education is a stepping stone, right? It's a stepping stone. And what do we do with that? We use it to make our way or to infiltrate their system per se. Okay? At the end of the day, what we need to do is, okay, we have lawyers. A great lawyer was on earlier that I heard speak, and she said, you know what? I became a lawyer to make sure that we have real justice. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Our judicial system is missing that. That's an important element, but everybody's so afraid because, like you said, we're not encouraged by our parents because maybe they emigrated from a different country. Maybe they don't know better, but it's our opportunity to teach them, right? For us, we're learning, right? We're coming over here young, they're working to put us through school. What are we supposed to do? Look back and lift them up. We uplift them. We bring them with us. We empower them. We give them a voice by sharing the knowledge that we've acquired both in the classroom and in the field, right? In our respective career paths, career choices. Now, unfortunately, sometimes we get to this place which I really despise. We earn doctoral degrees and we become attorneys and we become politicians, we become medical doctors. The case is, and we forget, all of a sudden, we forget who we are. We forget the challenges that's faced by our community. And let me tell you this, and I say this to my colleagues everywhere. No matter how educated you think you are, first of all, education or acquiring degrees is not supposed to be utilized as a weapon. Shanae hears me say this all the time. It is a tool to help build. It is a light to shine on a dark path, to help to illuminate, right? The room, to eradicate ignorance. But unfortunately, we don't see it that way. We want to create a sense of division, classism. Oh, I'm better than you. No. We all die, we all go to the same place, we all bleed red. I don't care what color you are. Okay, so we get no extra privileges or no extra powers because you're educated. What does it mean when we become really educated? Meaning that we hit the doctoral levels and beyond. Okay, although there's really nothing beyond doctoral except professional development. The obligation or the onus is on us. It makes us more responsible. It makes us more liable for our communities to say, you know what? People say woke. I don't like that. I'm vigilant. I'm socially vigilant. I'm mentally vigilant. Whatever the case is. But you know what? Because I am in the know, I want you to be in the know. I want you to know just as much as I know. Because we're not competing with each other. We can all be great and coexist. We have to stop this antics of competing with each other's. With each other, especially between the sisters. I don't know about the brothers. I'm a sister, but I'm just saying this idea that, we can all be great and coexist, but we have to uplift our community. The divisiveness that's within the Black community, it gotta go. We have to eradicate that sense of, oh, I'm better. No, we're one people, like somebody said earlier. We're one. Forget where you're from. Like you said, the ship just stopped at different places. We're one. So what do we need to do? We need to use the educational system, thank God for affirmative action and all the other actions that's out there, that allows us to have an opportunity to attend some of these Ivy League schools. When we acquire our education, what do we need to do? We need to utilize it for the benefits of our communities, right? We need to uplift our brothers and sisters. We do not need to pretend as if we're better, because no, you're more responsible. That's what you are. Let's be for real. You're more responsible. And we need to get into the different sectors where we always shy away from, that we become victims of, like mass incarceration, the criminal justice system. We need to infiltrate those systems. We need to become police officers, police chiefs, lieutenant, majors, commanders, whatever they have in there. We need to become lawyers. We need to become doctors, educators, because this is where they are. And that's why they have captivated our minds so much, to the point where we are physically without shackle, but we're mentally enslaved.
Can I add something?
Yes, please
Can you hear
do.
me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, cool. I really just planned on coming on, just listening, but this is really good. So I did a podcast with right. So I did a podcast. I did a podcast with a guest. She's into criminal justice, and she does a lot of advocacy work, and she's out there on the front line and everything. She's doing great things. And one of the questions that I asked was, how can we govern ourselves as a community? And you know, so some of the things that I looked at in my research and my studies dealing with that was a program called Restorative Justice, you know, and I found it really interesting with dealing with restorative justice because we're not only, it doesn't just only target the youth, but it also targets the adults as well, you know. So restorative justice, it's like, I guess just to kind of break it down in the simplest terms is, like if you go to the most affluent neighborhoods in the different places, they have these bubbles within their own community where people are actually looking out for each other. So I may have the key to your home, right? And vice versa. But restorative justice, like let's say we target the youth at first, because you know we could attack this two different ways. Let's start with the youth. Let's say the youth, they want to start to venture out. They're kind of curious and they want to kind of start breaking into some things or whatever in the community. So instead of calling the cops and increasing and fueling the criminal justice system, we come together in like a consensus meeting, right, within the community. And with that, we'll all bring the family together of the child, and we all hold ourselves accountable with uplifting and educating each other within the community. Now, it may be something where we could actually have somebody from the outside that's in the professional realm of, you know, the education process of what we need to know and what we need to learn and how to implement. But once we grasp the concept and we get a foundation, we can begin to build small pockets in every community. So it may look something like, I may be a leader in my little block. Somebody from this call may be another leader in the next block over. You know what I mean? And we're just pretty much in small pockets in each block. Now, so instead of getting the cops involved, we can actually rectify these issues on our own without getting the cops involved. You know what I'm saying? Now, I know that there's a bigger process and a bigger issue at hand because, again, you're dealing from years of trauma. You're dealing from years of being conditioned mentally to think and be a certain kind of way and act a certain kind of way. So I look at it like, instead of people going out and searching for these organizations that can provide restorative justice, we could actually bring it to the communities. You know what I'm saying? With the professionals that actually are capable of handling that kind of weight and those different scenarios to properly educate and train. So that's with the youth. Now, dealing with the adults, I found it interesting that from a neuroscience perspective, it's the very same approach, and it's been proven that the recidivism rate has been improved by like 91% in communities if we can effectively implement these programs. You know what I mean? So from a neuroscientific perspective, it would look something like, well, you know, we come from a long line of trauma and hurt. So boom. So the explanation of it will look something like, from the moment that you may offend me, and I take action to your offense, to the offense at hand, that's called a refractory period, right? So from that moment to that moment is a refractory period. Check with me about, 6 months down the line, like, yo, we good? What's going on? We good? No, we not good. You know what I'm saying? And from that moment, it's called temperament. Well, first it's refractory period, then it's a mood. And then from having a mood, it's called temperament. You know what I mean? We've learned how to suppress and not actually deal with the actual issue at hand, but we learn how to suppress. And we as the Black community, we're really, really king of that, learning how to suppress issues instead of really dealing with the root causes, right? Check with me about a year later, 2 years, and yo, we good? No, we not good. You know what I'm saying? I got these trust issues that done popped off now from then to now, and now this has become something as a personality trait. You see what I'm saying? So all of the real work happens within the confines of the refractory period, going back to the root cause. So if we can't get back to the root cause of real issues, then I feel like if it doesn't matter if we're talking about accountability in communities, if we're talking about family issues or just personal issues with self, if we can't get back to the root cause, then
this will continue on, and we'll never find the healing that we actually need in order to move on, move forward, and progress as a community. You see what I'm saying? So, but I look at it like that, and I feel like, to me, I feel like if you are an advocate and you're going out into the community and you're working, I personally feel like there should be mental health specialists that are moving with advocates that are moving in the community. You know what I mean? People that are prepared to address certain issues and family hurts and all kind of different things from the past. So, you know, and even again, going back to the restorative justice program, you know, all it takes is for the right people to come in and train the communities to be able to operate in this, so we can self-govern ourselves. And we don't have to really worry about the recidivism rate being what it is and fueling the criminal justice system. You know what I'm saying? So that's all I wanted to add.
Let me add on to what you're saying, because I work with the criminal justice system, because I actually go into the prisons and teach entrepreneurship 3 years before they get released. So right now, our recidivism right now nationwide is at 70%.
Okay.
That's within 3 years. I mean, within 3 years of being released, you are 70% likely to go back to prison. And that's without a new charge. That's without a new charge. That is just through violation, not having jobs, or not having housing. We know in places like Florida, New York, and California, one of the biggest issues that they're having right now is the fact that if you're an ex-felon, you can't rent anywhere, and you can't work anywhere. You can't rent, you can't work. So what options do you have? What are you gonna do? You can't rent, you can't work, so you're not effective to your community, right? But what they're not telling you guys is, since this is called Black economics, is let me tell you some Black economics when it comes down to the prison sector, right? So the average inmate is about $30,000 a year that we as taxpayers are paying to keep people behind bars. We pay for that. We pay for that. But what they're not telling you is that, since we're talking about higher education, it has been proven by Miles Monroe that if we can reduce recidivism, we can reduce the recidivism up to that 90% that you're talking about just by increasing education up to 40%. That's it. But I'll give you a better statistic. If we can just increase education by 1% in the prison system, that is $215 million that goes back into the community. If we can reduce it by 4%, so higher education proves that we can reduce recidivism up to 40%. That's what it proves. That means anything above a high school diploma, we can reduce it up to 40%. I just want 5% because I'm realistic, right? So I'm real. So if we can reduce it by 5%, that is an extra $1 billion back into the community to reinvest in housing, jobs, education, everything else. This is what they're not telling us. The money's already coming out of our pocket, but what's happening is because they privatize prison, they're taking the money out of our pocket and dumping it where they want. If we can reduce those numbers, they have to do something with that money.
But see, that's the point that I always, even I go back 10 years ago when I was sitting in a similar group, but locally, and I was telling them it goes back to economics. So how have I been able to do that? Over the last 20 years, by being the decision maker in my various businesses, I have been able to gainfully employ consistently, where people are now sending their children to college. I don't necessarily agree with that, but anyway, sending their children to college or whatever as a result of being employed, gainfully and consistently employed by one of my companies. That's number one. To your point about the prison systems, which is extremely important, I was a product of it the whole nine. That's another area, probably one of the most influential areas that can make most impactful, that's what I should say, the most impactful areas that we should go into, and that would be privatized prisons. They can't tell us how
say it again.
Run our prisons. So if we own the prisons, we can have true rehabilitation programs, education programs, from prison to work programs, like true gainful employment programs for them. But if we shun away from these systems, because they're not going to change it, bro. Like, I would idealistically love for that money to go back into the community, but that $1 billion ain't going back into the community. They're going to find something else to put that money into instead of our communities. They do it consistently. So the only way that we can do that is to own and control. We must first own so that then we can control. Go ahead, I'm listening.
Correct.
Jump in.
What they're not telling you also, Duke, is the fact that One, privatizing, no more rehabilitation. But what we're forgetting, you see how we're leveraging this technology right here, this internet stuff? I can see you, you can see me, we can be in different parts of the world. What they're not telling you is in the United States prison system now, inmates don't have internet. They don't have computers. They don't have these things. Back in the days, we used to hear stories about you can walk out of the prison with a law degree and this and that. Ever since the early 90s when Clinton was in presidency, they took that away. That appeals program that allowed free education to the prisons, they no longer have that in the prison system. One. Secondly, the highest level of education you're going to get while you're in there is a high school diploma. You can spend 25 years in prison, and it's not till your last year of prison that you're going to get, they're going to force you to get a high school diploma because that is state required. So that means if you went in there with a 6th grade education, 6 years later, you're going to come out with a 6th grade education, and yet they want you to re-emerge back into a society that is tech-driven, this, that, and the third. But every other country in the world allows these people to use computers and this and that because they want them to re-emerge back in society to be successful. But because we are privatized and it's monetized, that is not beneficial.
So my question to you is this, just like anything else, how can I ever, if I'm a basketball player, become the MVP of football? It's never going to happen.
You already know that ain't going to happen.
You understand what I mean? We have to play the game that we're in according to those rules.
And in order,
Agree. Go ahead.
I'm going to speak.
Go ahead.
First and foremost, thank Sinead for inviting me and for everybody putting this together and being in attendance. I don't take things like that lightly at all. The game is not going to change.
No.
Everything that you guys are saying is very factual. What we can do is learn as much as possible and know how to play the game.
That's it.
Because the game is not going to change. Now, going back to our ancestry, no matter if you're Haitian, American, whatever you want to call us, we're all one based off of skin tone due to the fact that's how they view us regardless. Now, going back into our ancestry, we have to be able to put into our minds that we're starting very, very late and behind. This is more so like a race, and they cheated and started a long time ago before we ever played catch up and even knew that we were even running. So we cannot be disappointed in our mothers or our ancestors for having lack of knowledge or having lack of being able to provide certain things to put us ahead of the game. All they had for us to give was love. They didn't have knowledge to know how to flip deeds on land or homes or being able to have access to enter certain schools. Everything was segregated back then. They fought just as much as we fought. The difference is our youth they don't know how to channel the energy. All they know is frustration. Everything that we're going through right now is nothing new under the sun. It's been going on for a very long time. And the only difference is they don't know how to handle it. Our ancestors knew how to handle it because they were used to dealing with it a certain way. We're used to doing with it our way. They're not used to dealing with it a certain way. But in my opinion, the youth are going to be the ones to change and break a lot of barriers. Because although we have access to a lot of things, they're more reactive. They're more fearless. And although it seems very dangerous, they're going to get more of a response. And whether that response is negative in the beginning, it's going to come with a lot of change. Another thing that I want to touch bases on is the criminal mass incarceration. That's a multi-billion-dollar industry. And not only that, they get paid billions of dollars to keep us there. But not only that, they must give us and take away certain of our rights because we have rights. But the second we get hit with a felony, you don't have rights. And guess what? You can't vote. And if you can't vote, then you cannot control who goes in office. Therefore, you lose your power.
So, but I'm gonna jump in right now. So with me, I was once one of those people who could not vote. And so thank y'all that voted so that felons could vote again. I really appreciate y'all, dead serious. So I was once one of those people, but guess what else I did in that? Since you took my one vote, I made sure that every election, I picked them up. I had 50 people. Now, whether it's 5, 2, 1, 3, I had 50 people vote, not just vote, but vote like I would have voted. Now I know that's borderline and on illegal because you ain't supposed to tell people
I'm
who
right
to
there
vote
with
for.
you, man.
But at the end of the day,
guiding.
I said, go
That's
in.
called guiding. Ain't nothing wrong with guiding if they don't know. If you're not going to use the vote anyway, then you don't have the knowledge and you don't know who to vote for. At least allow me to influence you and guide you properly.
Exactly it.
You know,
exactly.
That's exactly it. And so this is what we have to do is return to quote unquote guerrilla warfare. The young people, I love, and I'm sorry, it is what it is. I love the fact that they tearing shit up. Okay, that got the attention of the world. Now that we have the attention of the world, here it is, our time as the elders, you know, those with a little more wisdom, a little more poise to come in with a strategic plan, strategic plan, not just some haphazard marching up to Zion. No, that don't work no more. No. And these young people ain't going for it no more. They're going to continue to tear it up.
It has to
exactly.
Finance.
Bottom line. And which is why I'm going to come back circle with the prison system. Listen, like I definitely know that this stuff exists because I've seen it with on smaller scales, whereby if you own the prison, tell you they can't judge, they can't dictate how to allow within your prison that you privately own.
Correct.
Very true.
Like,
but
so
they're gonna make it hella hard.
Absolutely. So guess what though? Guess what though? Okay. But as men, I'm real. I like to relate to people where we are. As men in general, we're out here in the dating world, and let's say we ain't looking for no wife yet, so we're in our 20s. You understand where I'm coming from? Our main objective is to get some, period, point blank, right? We know that woman gonna make it hard for us, right? And we gonna finesse whichever kind of way we got to in order to get in that door initially, in order to get what we want at the end of the day, right? Same thing with the system that we're working against. Finesse, let them know, oh yeah, lock them up, whatever. Once they give us the license and we got the charter for our facilities, then we switch the okie doke on them. And then we implement real plans and these other types of things.
You know where you get that knowledge from? You know where you get that knowledge from?
Okay.
I'm gonna tell you right now because a lot of the things that I've accomplished, and I'm gonna touch on also what the doctor said earlier. A lot of the things that I've accomplished, it was not taught to me by education. I have a master's degree from Nova Southeastern University. It was not taught to me by school. It was not taught to me by my ancestors. It was not taught to me by my family members because I was one of the first individuals in my family to get to college. I have to be self-disciplined and seek the knowledge myself. No one guided me. If anyone that's around you or within your circle don't have that knowledge, it's upon you to go and seek that knowledge. You must pursue it and thirst for it as if you need it yourself in order to make a change. Because you may need it in order to be able to equip everybody else with it.
Correct.
Now, what she said before with about a lot of people chasing titles. They're going after certain careers just for that particular title, but they're not even doing anything. It comes back to impact versus careers.
Right.
Not
Agreed.
both are the same.
Right.
Not both are the same.
Right.
Your impact will always be where you hold your most power at.
Correct. That's what Duke was saying earlier.
Yeah,
that's what Duke was saying earlier. He was saying that we have the titles, we have the professionals, but we're not present. We're not visible.
We're not making an impact. That impact is way more powerful.
Right.
That impact is so powerful.
Now, to what the doctor said, I do want to touch on that before I forget. Dr. Mika, Mika Mayers? Okay, there we go. Dr. Mayers, I apologize. My bad. So listen, I 100% agree with helping those who want help. But we have to realize that we're operating with very limited resources.
Right.
So if we think in terms of Harriet Tubman, that's exactly what we're doing right now. I don't, you don't, we don't have time to convince nobody they need to get off the plantation. Whatever the conditions are that got you there, that led to that, we all know all of those woes. But children, teenagers, kids between the age, teenagers spend on average 7 hours and 22 minutes on the internet. Their parents aren't their main influence. Their parents have minimal influence in their lives, really, to be honest. What we're doing right now on our individual platforms, stepping up and elevating our game to be more visible. You know what I mean? Looking more like what they want to see will be. Now, I'm not saying don't help the mother. Like if you meet a mother or dad or uncle or auntie, definitely bring them aboard. But we cannot, again, if I got $100 and it costs $99 to send your child, on to survive, I can't waste no money on you. You understand what I mean? No, I'm not trying to be cruel to that. That's what I think what we end up doing. We end up spreading our resources too thin. I think that's just the long story short. And now maybe, and we fail to delegate. So maybe Dr. Mayers, no, I can't agree with that. I'm sorry. I was gonna try. I was trying.
It's okay. But you know what? And listen, this is what meaningful dialogue is, and I love it. But let me say this.
Okay.
So you do have parents. First of all, I had to write down something. I'm getting old, y'all. I'm sorry.
It's okay. We all getting old. Okay.
Okay.
Welcome to the club.
Right. So
For real.
as far as the parents,
but we look good
concerned,
though. Come on, Chuck.
Thank you.
Amen.
Thank you.
There we go.
So as far as the parents are concerned, sometimes, we won't know. And I'm with you on the Harriet. Like Harriet said, I would have freed more slaves if only they knew they were slaves, right? I get it. And you do have those. You do. And you cannot waste and tarry with those. You have to go on to those. You have to treat it like the coronavirus. They need their ventilators for those who are going to live, okay?
That's right.
So,
that's right.
Now, at the end of the day, I'm with you on that, but we have to make the effort. That's all I'm saying. We have to make the effort.
And you know what? What I'm saying is, I'm gonna be quiet. What I'm saying is, I agree.
We don't have that much energy. We don't have that much energy and time because we waste time by investing that. So if you see that they're searching for it, if they're searching for it or they have like a strong interest in wanting to learn more, then you plant that seed, because I'm not gonna plant my seed on fertile land. Correct. That soil is not ready to bear fruit, gotta go. Right. And that's just how it is.
Think like that. I used to be like that until I had a few life-changing events. It's so hard. It was so hard for me to fathom that people felt hopeless. I'm just being candid and transparent for a moment.
Correct.
It was hard for me to fathom that people would say, I don't know how to start. Like, I don't know where to find any resources. It was very challenging for me to fathom that. However, I have had the opportunity of just having passive conversations with people who have gone on to do great things. I remember meeting one young lady in particular. She had her first child at the age of 13. She was raised she was raised with her mother until she was 7 years old. And then, till she was 14 years old. And then she was given to a foster family. When she was, as far back as she can remember, her mother was an addict, and her mother used to do whatever she could do to get money to sell drugs. I'll be very brief on this. Long story short, when her mother didn't have the payment, okay? And that was as far back as she could remember. I'm talking about 7 years old, 8, 9, So that's very traumatic for any child. She was hopeless. The only thing she knew was prostitution. That's it. She only knew she belonged to a pimp. That was it. Okay, she was raped. Her first child was at 13. The second one was at 14. The third one was at 15. The other one was at 16. She had one at 17. Today, all of her children are graduates. Well, they graduated from grad school. Okay, they work you have police officers, you have, I think she said one was a medical doctor, but the point is, even after her children earned their education, she was so used to a certain lifestyle, because she was still young, keep that in mind. all these kids growing up, going to school. She's still very young. Until she met me, I will never forget the day we just had a passive conversation. And she was like, I'm surprised you even stopped and spoke to me. I'm like, wait, what? What do you mean surprised? I mean, you're a human just like I am. You know, we had a great conversation that turned into her, ended up registering for college. She's about to graduate. As a matter of fact, she reached out to me this week. She's like, please make sure you're at my graduation. And I told her I wouldn't miss it for the world. Okay, and let me say this to the young man that spoke before you do. Education, it's not solely measured by acquiring or the acquisition of degrees. Okay, you can educate yourself and never earn a degree. Some of the most intelligent people, I may disagree with a lot of them. Okay, I love my father dearly, but he is someone that's extremely intelligent. We disagree on a lot of things.
I concur. I agree with your father.
A college degree, but he's well educated. I can spend gold and I can point anywhere on the map.
That comes from self-education too. Remember
You too, baby.
A lot of things they're not going. It's done on purpose. A lot of these things that they're making sure are not being put into schools.
Did you mute your phone?
So self-education is the best education. That's the difference between knowledge and common sense, or being book smart and having common sense. The things you teach yourself, now you can choose what exactly you want to learn. Versus going to school, they're going to teach you what they know and what they want you to learn.
Hey, I want to say something real quick, y'all, if I can.
Yeah, this room is noisy, so I'm gonna go in another room. I'm sorry.
Okay, I want to say something because I keep hearing this going back and forth, and I've been in this situation a lot where I've got on board to move things forward. And one thing that I'm hearing is you are disagreeing by agreeing, and what I mean by that is this. And I really want everybody to let me put this in perspective here. People's reality is based off of what they've experienced and what their circle has experienced, right? So that pretty much puts your limitation there. A lot of times people can't see further than what they have experienced and their circle have experienced, right?
Yeah.
So what we're talking about is we're not in the convincing business, right? And we're not in the convincing business. Like we say, we want to get people that are ready. Now, even though, like you was talking about the lady, this is all she knew because that was her reality because of what she's experienced and what her circle has experienced, right? So now what we're talking about is we're moving forward anyway. And now once we're moving forward and they encounter us, once we are in their circle, their reality changes. The thing is, like me, I do investments, right? And my entire life, I thought that having 6 figures a year was a good job until I started hanging around people making 7 figures a month. My reality changed from that point, right? My reality changed from that point because now my reality is different because I've seen it. I've seen how it's done. And a lot of times we stay in the same mentality because like even when it comes to resources, when it comes to money, we get our financial information from other broke people. Well, why are we getting a map written by somebody who's never been to the destination? If we haven't been to a destination, how can we draw out a map? So a lot of times we say that this is what we want, but we're too ego driven to say, you know what, as a leader, I'm going to step aside to somebody who can help get us there. That is being a servant leader. That is saying, I'm going to look at for the needs of the people. And that's what we're doing here. So if we're going here and say, you know what, we're going to go for the needs of the people. The needs of the people are what they're ready or where they're at right now. If they don't know that they need it, then expose them to it. If you can't convince somebody something that they don't know that they need yet. If all they ate is beans their entire life, that's all they're going to love is beans until you expose them to something new. I didn't know spaghetti was my favorite food until I had it, right? So exposing them to something. If you start exposing them to other people instead of trying to convince them outside of their reality, you're going to be able to get people to step outside of their comfort zone while keeping them in their comfortable chair, if that makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense. Where does self-accountability come in? I was always taught to keep my door wide open. Right. But I cannot continue to slow down at the same time. If they approach me, my door is wide open and I'm ready to help them and lead them to the water. But I don't let so many people to the water and none of them drunk. Right. Yeah. None of them drunk. So
right.
Self-accountability.
With self-accountability, but I'll say this. Self-accountability is real, but that's the beautiful thing about diversity, and that's where it matters, and that's where we have to appreciate each other for who we are, because there are some like you, there are others like me, like Duke, like everybody else in this call. We're all different. Some of us will slow down and say, you know what, let me teach you something real quick. You have an open door policy. You know what, brother, I can't slow down, but if you want to roll with me or you can run at my speed, run with me. You know, Duke is like, okay, you know what, if you have a real desire to learn, you come approach me. But that's the beautiful thing about diversity and where each of us are, because there is someone in our community, or there are groups of people that will fit right into every different element or personality type that we have, or vision that we have for leadership and success within our community. Because you do have some, they just want to grind and they ready. They're like, yeah, let me run with you. And you have some that they're sleeping and they don't even know what they want. They didn't know that spaghetti, they like spaghetti. You know, until somebody say, you know, let me, you ever taste spaghetti before? And what's that? Let me make some for you right quick. You know what I mean?
But you know, Dr. Maris, there is one thing that I will say is that as a people, we must become the hospital. We can't be the EMTs. We can't be the fire department. We can't be all of this yet. Our first goal, if it's anything, right, in your scenario, is to become. Are you listening? I'm talking to you. I'm joking.
Yes, I'm listening. I'm listening to you. They telling me my son getting off of work is 9:30. I'm like, right now?
I'll bother with you. I'll just bother with you. But you know, it's like even to we got to make the money so that we can empower the youths out there to help the other people that need help, that are reaching but can't reach. I understand that importance, which is why I think with Shanae's overall purpose of this call to bring us back to Black economics, targeted spending, period. Guess what else? It don't have to, first of all, let's just be real. We don't own much of nothing in America. So a lot of our targeted economics is going to have to be with some retailers that haven't as of yet overtly been against us, but they also haven't overtly been with us either. So let's just use this. I'm using this example. Target isn't where the most Black people shop. This is, it's just real. That's not where the most Black people shop.
So there, but they ain't gonna shop there no more. Because they for a jacket and some shoes, it was $200.
Right. But Walmart, right? Using some place like Walmart, which is national, right? Okay, cool. If we start to focus our spending and say, hey, Walmart, you be with us, or we're going to take our dollars on our non-essentials. I'm not talking about essentials because Walmart is too, you know, for essential needs. You know,
well said.
Yeah, they need that stuff. But the non-essentials, we can use Amazon, we can use any other white or other retailer in order to send a message to Walmart or any of the other people that we decide to target to make them become our ally. No different than the U.S. military does with other companies. Either you're going to be with us or against us. Another case, like we can sit down, the people that's on this phone, and we can develop a campaign to target BP. Because if there's a BP gas station, there's 9.9 times out of 10 a Shell directly across the street, or some other gas station of equal quality directly across or down the street. So we can say, you know what, BP, we've been spending $30 million a month with you guys nationwide. We're going to stop that unless you start listening to us and start also donating to the what you say? I guess reform in whichever capacity, right? You know, whether that's our politicians, whether that's our schools, whether that's a community economic development thing. This is extremely important. Now, to more give a visual that we can all take away from this conversation for Shanae's purpose of this call, I would say what I've learned through history and what I've learned through the church world is that there's a reason why churches build these big, huge edifices. They do that in order to get participation. You can have a building fund up on your wall with all the thermometers you want to talk about the goals that you reach. And if you don't have some image of what it is that you're trying to build, you ain't gonna get no money. Period. It's not gonna happen. So if we all decide, whether it's Fort Lauderdale, whether it's Orlando, whether it's Jacksonville, whether it's Tallahassee, whatever we decide on, and we say, you know what, we want to build a live, work, play community from us, by us, that's hiring us at all levels. You know, a lot of times people talk about gentrification, right? And I'm a proponent, in an odd way, it seems crazy, for gentrification, because I realize that at the end of the day, if these areas had never run down, the people that's living there now would have never lived there. There's always going to be somebody a little less than you. So how do we combat this? Well, maybe you can't afford to buy the condo, townhouse, or house in this new community development that we all spearheaded, but you can afford to work in these businesses and help build these particular buildings, which will then increase your bottom line, that the next project you can become an owner in that particular project. We have to do targeted real estate based community development, and so that it can fuel other reform. Long story short.
You mind if I jump in? You mind if I jump in right quick?
Go ahead, because we want to get to some of the literal strategies that we're going to start to introduce to each other. We started to name some of them. So that's what I want us to kind of get into, is strategy, because at the end of the day, we know all these different disparities and all these different issues, but we want strategy. By the end of this call, we at least need to have a simple goal in mind that we can all work on or work towards individually or collectively. So that's what I want to get into next. So go ahead.
Yeah. Now, speaking on economics, you know, I have one of my degrees, my concentration was economics. I took a class, one of the hardest classes I ever took in school. The only C I made was international trade. That class right there was something else. But one thing I did learn from that class is, you know, the four, you know, basic principles of economics. That's land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. Now, another thing that we also learned was how the colonies were able to sustain themselves and how they implemented those four principles. And from what I gathered, you know, from, you know, the lectures of my professors and whatnot, and what kind of astonished me and what was eye-opening and mouth-dropping was that how they followed just basic principles, and how those four basic principles were excluded from the African Americans who were there. Basically, African Americans during that period had only one purpose. That was to provide free labor that generated wealth to those colonists. Now, this is what the colonists took advantage of while establishing their might within the colonies. They maintained this simple rule, and they spread this simple rule to their offspring for generations. That is to first, you know, when you have a family, whatever, and you establish yourself, your own land and whatnot, you may have a farm, you may have a business or whatnot. The first thing you teach your child to do is to get an education. That is the first thing you teach your child to do. Now, after that, after you obtain that education, your child, of course, will do what? Get a job. You know, you get a job. And after that, you get a job, you save money, and use that money from your, you know, labor or whatever to purchase land or invest in something. You can purchase land, or you can invest in your business, like what they did back in those days, a farm or a business within the township. Then the last thing they did after they accomplished those three goals was to then start a family. I want you to just look back at a lot of the prominent families in history, going back 400 years. They maintained that simple line of principles. Get education first, get the job first, acquire the capital, purchase the real estate, real property that would generate wealth, then start the family. But what a lot of us do, unfortunately, we have the kid first. Some of us drop out of school before we have, after we have the kid. And now what? We're forced to look for a mediocre job, paying minimum wage, or we just expect someone else to give us a handout to help us out. And see, that's what we suffer from in the community is what a lot of the other groups in society, the Jews, Asians, whatever, they stick by that code of get the education first, acquire the job first, acquire the capital first, then start the family, and then spread those tenets to your generation. That was stripped away from us because our main purpose from 1619 all the way to 1865 was to work. That's it. Work, and generate capital for our slave masters. So after 1865, guess what happened? You have a whole bunch of free slaves who were just clueless on economics. So they were just there. What can I do? Where can I go? But unfortunately, up to now, some of us still don't know where to go.
We gonna get it
but it comes from like the brother said before, that your condition. Yeah. If all you know how to do, or all you see in your own reality is, poverty, mediocrity, marginalization, to you that's normal. To you that's normal to be 16 and have a child. Right. To you that's normal to just go become a drug dealer because I don't have a job, I have to do something. So let me just go ahead and sell drugs and take that risk of possibly going to prison for the rest of my life. You see?
I can't remember who suggested that we I can't remember who suggested that we do research on African history, because I really think that that's where it starts, is the perception of where we've come from, because that's the mentality that we're locked in, is thinking very low of ourselves.
We wouldn't think low of ourselves. We wouldn't think low of ourselves if we did do our research. And I'm going to tell you why. Because our ancestry, that's why it had to be stripped from us. Our ancestry holds so much power and so much knowledge, so much wisdom, that it's out of this world. Mansa Musa was one of the most wealthiest man on earth to ever live.
Yeah, that was one individual though, who also had 20,000 slaves. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, he did. But slaves nowadays, the same thing back in those days, because Mansa Musa was what? African, black.
No, but the concept was still the same. Free labor. That's the thing.
Hey,
free labor.
One thing that I want to say, because I have to go, gentlemen, because I have another meeting, and I really thank you all for having me. But I want to say this because I want to get into this planning portion, because I know that is why we're all here. I want to say this. This is something that, if it's not already in there, this is some things that I really want to implement to help safeguard us and to get into the successful status that we're going towards. The first thing is stay focused on our goal. When we set one, we need to stay focused on our goal. What happens is a lot of times we start majoring in the minors, and what'll happen is there's a difference between somebody saying, like, if you had two people that was running a race, right? A person whose mentality is to win, and you have another person's mentality to not lose. They are not the same thing. One is an offensive minded, one is a defensive minded. Understand that defense, right? You set up defense when you fear something. We're not a people of fear. All right. So we really got to get out of that mindset. So a person that's running to win is always going to be the person that's running to not lose, because that person that's running to not lose is looking back over their shoulder at the competition. The person that's running to win is leaning into the rope. That makes sense.
Yes.
So our focal point is different. So I really want us to make sure that when we do have obstacles, that they remain obstacles. And what I mean by that is this: what you focus on, you draw into your life. Everybody's heard this before, right? Energy flows where attention goes. So if we start focusing on what our problems are more so than what our goal is, then those obstacles becomes barricades. An obstacle is made simply to be overcame, right? We do that for fun. We have obstacle courses, right? When I was in the Marine Corps, we did obstacle courses. They were made to be overcame, right? But a barricade is made to stop your momentum.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So we start getting focused more on our problem more so than our goal, then we'll get deterred from it easily and we'll get stopped. So that's one thing I want us to really focus on, is to stay steadfast on our goal. 2 is to be relentless once we start getting them to move. A lot of people was talking about the riots. I keep hearing, I know y'all hearing the people talking about rioting, and you're talking about all of these things. But here's the thing, because people will always quote Martin Luther King, like, we want you to do a peaceful such and such. My thing is, when Martin Luther King was here, y'all act like y'all loved him, but you didn't. He was public enemy number 1, right? He was public enemy number 1, and y'all will put up I Have a Dream speech all the time, but y'all won't put up his speech in 1966 when he said rioting is the actions of the unheard, meaning that we haven't been heard. So a lot of times we're so busy trying to get back to our comfort zone, because when the rioting starts, when people start voicing out their frustration, then what happens is we too, as educated people, we too are uncomfortable. Even though we understand it, we're uncomfortable. So the moment that they start telling us, okay, we're going to sit down and we're going to negotiate with you, and they offer us a small trinket, then we say that that's enough, and we go right back, and now we got another 100, 200 years of the same thing, because we caved in and said, okay, they gave us a little attention. No, we have to really see this all the way through this time. We have to be relentless. We have to have that mindset to say, you know what, I understand some of our people are going to say, you guys aren't thankful. What are we thankful for?
Right.
What are we thankful for? Is everybody with me on that? So that's my thing. So
Absolutely.
my 2 things is stay focused on what our goal is and stay steadfast in it. Do not accept anything less than what we stated we were going after in the beginning.
Thank you,
That's
Gordon.
Thank you.
And I wanted
Thank
to
you.
Love you guys. Huh?
Chanel, were you saying something? Because I was going to get
No,
to
I was telling Gordon, thank you. I was just
Yeah.
going to throw in my strategy, like my
Yes,
commitment
that's what we want
after
to get
this
to.
call. We can
Yes.
close out with our commitment and strategy. And
Yes.
from what I took from listening to everyone, as a mom now of 3 total, but girls, I have to commit to teaching my children what the goal is from early. We've mentioned earlier that our, parents, raising us, and their parents didn't know better. Now that I know better, it is my job. I am obligated to let my children know what the goal is. I'm obligated to let them know that STEM is the way. I'm obligated to let them know as a collective what we're fighting for and how their actions today will impact their freedom tomorrow. So that is the strategy that I will be using to help my children become the best that they can be. And when they become the best, reinvest back into the community and be leaders of the community to help us move forward. That's my commitment.
Thank you. And just to pose this next question before we close out the call, because we're going to have another call like this, but it's going to be every time we meet, if you're able to, I want it to be that we're getting a step further. This change that we really want is not going to happen on one phone call. Let's get that right? So the next phase in this call, I want to hear, what lead role are you willing to play to implement change? What lead role are you willing to play to implement change? That is your commitment to yourself today. We discussed, many different things. Some of us we're not really committed on perhaps on the educational spectrum and mentoring someone. That's fine. But there are others like myself, I may have the patience to do that with our youth. For someone else, it may be that you're willing to invest and perhaps help them to build a business. Whatever it is, I want to know on this call before we close. We have 10 minutes. I want to wrap it up. What is your lead role? What is it that you're going to do and commit to move forward, to move this thing forward?
I guess I'm going to have to run shortly, so I'll briefly say this. Once again, thank you so much for the invitation to be a part of this wonderful forum. As far as lead role, what I will contribute, so one day, hopefully, maybe in the future, we never know, I will probably run for public office. My purpose for running for public office is to really implement change. Now, I believe that, well, I will continue to be a voice in the community. I will continue to be a voice in the classroom. I'll continue to be a voice in my intimate circles and also my circle overall. Because I think that that's where it starts from, those private conversations, having a renewed mind. I think a strategy that we can definitely utilize or practice is really trying to deprogram ourselves to reprogram ourselves. And when I say that, I'm talking about our mindsets, the way we view each other as brothers and sisters, the way we support each other, the way we converse. I think it's important for us to really become our brothers and our sisters' keeper, not only rhetorically, but in actuality, because it's essential. And that's where it starts, is from the mindset. Because let me tell you, they did a great job of helping us to understand that, you may be freed physically, but you're not free mentally. I think we need to deprogram ourselves, to reprogram ourselves, so we can actually understand what it is to truly be mentally free and to be out of bondage and mental enslavement.
Thank you, Shamika. Dr. Maris, I love it. Who else?
Well, this is Duke. My commitment is to build a nation within the nation. And trust me, it's about 10 years that I've been trying to run from that commitment. Mm-hmm. Who knows? I don't care who I end up having to pass the baton on to. Number one, Dad, it could be you. I don't care who, but what I'm saying that we're doing is building a nation within the nation, similar to the Amish, but on a bigger economic scale. Most people don't realize that the Amish sell into the American community, but don't partake in none, almost none. It's like I think it's less than 5% of what they consume comes from the normal American economy. That's a big, bold statement. And so for us, one thing that I'm committed to is not thinking that what we're trying to implement right now will happen in its entirety overnight. Mm-hmm. If Dubai, I want everyone on this call who doesn't already know to go do research on what Dubai looked like 50 years ago. Mm-hmm. They were marginalized, told that they were scum, told that they were nothing, blah, 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 blah. And a group of the right people got together and said, you know what, bump this. We are great people and we're going to live good. And they built just look at what they built in 50 years. Now I'm going to throw a number out there. That's only $350 billion. That sounds like a lot of money
for that, though.
Right. No, but they did 50 years, though. They did that over 50 years. So there's a plan, and I will give it to Shanae, and there's some other things that we're coming up with. $10 a month from 4 million Black people. What couldn't we do in 50 years? That's all I'm saying. So my commitment is to make sure that I get with you guys, that I empower the A+ people. One thing that Steve Jobs always said is that he made sure he surrounded himself with A+ people. All of you all that are better than me and other people in what you do, I want to empower you. And I know that that takes money to do that. And so my commitment is to build the nation within the nation so that we can fund these different goals. And when you run for office, we can put some coins behind you. You feel me?
Yes.
My commitment, I'm Paul. My commitment to the movement is to support all Black businesses. God does support our Black businesses. So that's my commitment, is to encourage and find like-minded people like myself to push for us to do more supportive and be more encouraging to our young entrepreneur and to our young people that is moving forward. I want to say thanks to Shanae to invite me on this program, because it's a great program. It's all brilliant minds. I could hear the brilliant minds on the phone here. So You know, our Black people are very brilliant, and we just got to embrace each other and support each other. So that's my commitment: is to embrace and, you know, encourage and support my people at all times.
I love that. Anyone else?
I guess I'll go. Dijon Talks here, number one dad. As he called me. My commitment is going to be to continue doing exactly what I'm doing right now. I'm a voice in the community where I am extremely vocal. I'm vigilant. I fear nothing, and I educate. I currently have multiple platforms that educate our people, whether I'm going into the prison system and educating them to own businesses before they get out, because we can't wait for them to get out. So I'm helping them start those businesses before they transition out of prison, or whether I'm running incubators out here for our local communities that doesn't know how to start a business or run businesses. So I have incubators out here that'll teach you how to run and start your business and be sufficient and be successful. But I also have classes in the prison system that does that. And when I'm not doing that, I'm always educating either through a format like this, or I'm very vocal as a motivational speaker or a host, or, you know, a prison reform advocate. In addition to that, you know, I'm a big cartoon fan. I'm a big kid, right? So I'm always remembering like the Ninja Turtles and these different things. And they talk about the foot and they talk about the hand. And then you go into the Bible, and the Bible talks about the body and the different portions of the body in 1 Corinthians and the functions that they do. And there's always a head and a body. And then, you know, our host is asking them, what is your role? And who's going to do this? Who's going to take the lead for this and take the lead for that? Individually, I believe we each have our role, right? So everybody's talking about on an individual level what each role is going to do, what the pinky is going to do, the index finger, the middle finger, the thumb, what everything's going to do. But I would also push for a collective effort.
Yes.
In addition to that, I will push. If not, I will push for a collective effort. In addition to that, and it requires sacrifice from your mundane, traditional life, and we're all extremely busy. So let's not even throw that one out there, because we all know we're all Black professionals. We're all busy. So that's the obvious. But the obvious does not super exceed the sacrifice that needs to be made for change. And we need a change. And in order to get the change, you need a sacrifice. And whatever that sacrifice is for you, you know, I think, Duke, you did a phenomenal job of giving multiple, and I do mean multiple, you know, platform layered businesses that can be implemented on micro to macro scales. Even that simple concept you just threw out, the $10 a month, although it sounds so simple, it will be so effective because it can go back into community and do so many different things, like put people in power, invest in our politicians, invest in our judges, invest in education, because, you know, our kids need to go to school, scholarship programs, all of these different things. I mean, that $10 a month over 400 million people, 40 million people, that's a lot of money, right? It can do a lot in a pot. So I'm really, my collective effort is what I'm doing right now. But I would like, as the conversations continue to brew and get a little bit more heated, for us to come with a collective effort where the fingers are strong, but when they become a fist, it makes a mighty punch. Yeah. You know exactly what that means. Yeah. Exactly. But when it becomes a fist, this is why we do this. We know how strong we are like this, but when we make this, man, I mean, they know how strong we can be. Right. They know that, but we don't know that. We need to remind ourselves of our strength, right? And I think that educational platform that you guys were talking about, educating ourselves prior to slavery, I think is extremely essential for every Black person. I don't care what island you're from, what country you're from. Learn your history. Learn why they don't want you to learn it. Learn why they stripped it from you. Learn that, in fact, they even learn how to read and write from you. They learn business from you. They learn how to read and write from you. They learn how to construction from you. They learn marketing from you. As a matter of fact, all they do is take your stuff and remarket it and make money off of it. And that's it. That's it, right? So I would love if whatever this platform is created for, wherever we come together, besides amazing dialogue and individualism, is a collective effort that will push into something much greater. That will, even if I'm not in our lifetime, because it's not about us, but the next lifetime they can eat from that tree. That's all I gotta say.
Awesome. I have a big plan after hearing everyone. I know everyone has not yet gone. But I wrote down a few things here, and just after, I'm a very spontaneous woman, and I love to also execute. So as you were just speaking, Dijon, I thought, you know, I've been thinking, I discussed this with my sister, how can we do a collective effort, right? So we've discussed several things tonight. Y'all, I'm thirsty. I need water. Somebody give me some water, please. What I thought of is using this same platform, and do believe me, I strategically invited particular people, specific people who I saw, whether it is through social media, whether I connected to you in another way, or I know you personally, because I knew that you are a bunch of strong-minded people, people who are not just talkers, but you're doers. So here's what I just thought of in the moment. And it is to use this platform, which is Zoom, very simple, right? And I want to also get together with Duke. I want some of us to get together with Duke on looking deeper into that $10 a month idea, right? So I'm gonna stick a pin there, but let's use this platform. We have the entire summer. A lot of times we think we need 6 months ahead to plan something, but I'm the type of person, if there are individuals that are on this call right now that are equipped with the education, the knowledge, the desire to do something, why not this summer start to do something? So my company caters to youth in particular. I have a talent and performing arts agency. So during the summer, I tend to have different summer camp programs. But now when I'm thinking about what everything that's going on, my attention is shifting in a different direction. That means hiring teachers who do teach the STEM program. That means educating our Black kids for free. I'm not saying charge anything. That's not what I'm saying, because I believe that a lot of parents can't even afford to do summer camp right now because of what's going on. So those of you who are at all interested in pooling together to start to comprise a curriculum or to teach or to educate, to have a forum in which we can educate our youth. It can be something where it's once a week. It doesn't matter. If you are committed to doing something along that line, if you are also committed to, you know, somebody that could teach the STEM program, that is something that, I mean, we could all pull heads together and say, okay, the month of July, let's do this. This is what action is about, okay? So that's just some ideas out there. Some of the things I wanted us to discuss tonight that we didn't get to is companies that are willing to hire ex-felons. We talked about the fact that they can't get hired. Why don't we hire them? There are a lot of entrepreneurs on this call. We want to talk deeper. Yes, we want to talk deeper on banking Black. We wanted to talk about, of course, supporting Black business owners, investing in Black candidates. That is supporting their campaigns, job readiness, having programs for our people to prepare them, better prepare them. We want to look into legislation. Chanel was supposed to get into that. Black education, right? And nepotism. So there's quite a number of things that I wanted to get into, but that's fine. We still had a lot of insight, but I just want you guys to know that this is only the beginning. It's only one stepping. This is just one step towards the right direction. So the next time that we do get on this call, it's going to be a master plan, a collective master plan. I love what Dejan is doing, creating this opportunity for ex-cons to come out and actually have something. As Duke mentioned, you know, everyone has thrown out so many ideas out there. Let's keep this wave going. Let's keep this great talk, this energy going through action. I'm so proud that so many Black men are on this call tonight. That is a #1 thing right here. And y'all are educated. Y'all are what do you say, Shamika? You said it's not woke. What's the word? What's the term?
Vigilant. Vigilant.
We're vigilant, okay? Our Black brothers, they're vigilant, and I'm so proud. I just want to be a facilitator. I'm not saying I'm not going to do my part. My role is to utilize whatever platform that I use to unite our people. Point blank, end of story. If you say, Shanae, I need to get this done, I'm the person to contact to say, let's get it done, because I'm going to jump on it. I don't like to talk a lot. If you say, Shanae, listen, I'm trying to do this, I'm the type of person who will say, okay, let me gather this person, that person. Okay, let me reach out to this one. I'm barefaced. I don't care. I'm gonna knock. I'm gonna keep pushing. And all of us play a very vital role because we have, as Mika said, there's so much diversity on this line. There's so much just beauty in everything, in our own uniqueness, and all of us have a role to play. So with that being said, I did plan to have it for 2 hours, but y'all didn't know that. But I knew that it would get sweet and we would say some things. But I'm gonna allow Chanel to close out on anything that she wants to say right now. And I will let you guys know when we're gonna do the next call. But I love this. I love this.
Close out. Is this prayer service?
time.
I'm just kidding. Prayer service. All the saints bow your head.
That's what it sounds like. That's what it sounds like.
Listen, man, is there anyone on the call that wanted to say something but didn't get an opportunity to? You got like 2 minutes on the clock. You know, Black folk don't know time. We gotta do better, y'all.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody? No? Okay. Well,
So I can add something.
Okay, go ahead.
Less than 2 minutes.
Okay.
Now, I have a degree in accounting and finance, and I studied some of the most, the richest investors of all time, George Soros. From him on out. One thing I've noticed what they've done, they never started a business. They obtained their billions from investing. Investing in the stock market, investing in derivatives. That's how they became that creep Jeffrey Epstein. That's how he became worth $500 million. He didn't start a business. He invested in the stock market and kept flipping it. That's what we need to do as a people. We need to save our money, invest in our communities, and invest in what's going to give us a high return, and that's their stock market. That's all I have to say.
Don't be afraid to invest in our own kind. Like, I'm investing in
Hold on.
six different Black one being a salon, and you make a lot of money by investing, but the best part about it is that you know that you're putting your money to use to help people the right way. And nothing better.
We can't hear.
You're muted.
You're muted.
Oh, I'm sorry. What I was saying is that also adding to what you were saying, when it comes to investing, we can't be afraid to put that money to use. Like, I invest in a lot of entrepreneurial businesses, and majority of them are Black-owned businesses. You know why? Because there's nothing better than being able to put my money to use, but to put it behind someone who can't get money from the government because the government is not putting out loans because they don't trust that they can get the job done. There's so many businesses that have started, have came up to me, and I said, okay, you know what? I got a little bit of credit. Let me just take it out. You're not taking it from me anyway. You're taking it from the credit because it's going through credit. I'm going to take it from my credit. So I take it from my credit and I give it to them. And what ended up happening is they actually profit from it way more than what they expect. I pay my creditors back. Their businesses take off, and I end up keeping a portion in anyway. So everyone wins all across the board. So don't be afraid to get behind businesses. Get behind your own kind. Like, when I went into business marketing, I did that for a reason. I stepped back. My business thrives off of pushing other businesses. I don't like to be in the forefront. Everybody has a business or would love to get into business. A lot of people don't know about incorporating businesses. A lot of people don't know how to get business investments, business credits. They don't know how to do anything, but there's so much money behind it. So when you can educate these people and actually take that money from business credit and put it behind these other businesses, trust me when I tell you, when those businesses take off, you're going to profit from it. And it's not even about the money. It's about the fact of knowing that you're helping other people who probably never have that chance or never get that opportunity anywhere else because the government has denied them so many times. They're not going to be able to get $10,000 to go and open up a salon.
Yes.
But look at all of these sisters walking in the salon looking beautiful and walking out with their hair done.
Right.
All you needed was what, $8,000, $10,000. You're in now your third year of business. You done gross way more than that, and you done paid me back, and I'm been done. But the fact of me seeing the fruits of it, of just giving you a kickstart, that's all it is. Giving them a kickstart.
Alrighty. All right. So I know we all on fire. We all passionate. Y'all keep this fire for the next call. Shanae will disseminate the information for when the next call will take place. I'm a woman of law and order, and I believe in sending people on their way into their families promptly. Thank you guys so much for your contribution. Those who spoke, those who
law and order. No law and order, please.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Our president. Never mind. I just like order, but no law. I'm just kidding. No, so I just want to send you guys on your way. Thank you so much for coming on, for accepting the invitation. Thank you so much, Shanae, for being a doer. You better than me, child, because, you know, I've been done stall. But thank you so much for putting this together, having us all come in a space together where we can brainstorm and then strategize and act, because that's the important part. With no further ado, I want all the ladies and all the gentlemen on the call to have a marvelous, marvelous night. Good night. Thank you guys.
Good night, y'all.
Good night.
Good night,
Good
everyone.
stuff. Good stuff. Good night.
Night.
To be continued. To be continued.
Yes.
Thank you. I just want to say this was really good. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you for joining us, Joy. Thank you. Good night, guys.